Well, it's just gone 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Time and 7 a.m. in the Gaza Strip. These are live pictures of the border between Israel and Gaza, where the formal agreement for a truce which was due, just expired. Israel has vowed to resume fighting at some point with the objective of completely destroying Hamas. Moments ago, Reuters has reported that Israel's military, it will continue a truce, quote, in light of the mediators' efforts to continue the process of releasing hostages and subject to the terms of the agreement. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Michael Ware. Michael, what do you make of these reports?
Well, I think like a lot of people around the world, I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief. The current pause was due to end at 7 a.m. Gaza time. That was 2 minutes ago. But it was literally 5 minutes to midnight, virtually 5 minutes to 7 a.m. did we learn that the Israelis and Hamas have come to another agreement for another pause. We're not sure for quite how long. But, 2 minutes ago, either the bombings would have resumed or hostages will start returning. And thankfully, it's the hostages. Now, one of the holdups, because we have the head of the CIA, we have the head of Israel's spy agency, Mossad, and the head of the Egyptian intelligence agency, all in Qatar right now, who thrashed out this deal. One of the glitches was that Hamas, according to the Israelis, couldn't come up with enough hostages. There's some women, there's some children, and they say the bodies of 3 dead Israelis, a mother and 2 children. And Israel was saying, that's not enough. We're going to start bombing unless you can produce more. Hamas is claiming that they don't control all of the hostages that still remain. And there's still about 145 of them. Because let's not forget, there's not just Hamas, there's Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other groups. But the great news is that at least for today, the guns remain silent.
It's just drip, 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 though, isn't it, Michael, when you're talking about groups of 10 hostages at a time and you're talking about hundreds of hostages. It's a painstaking process, and it's one where you assume that sooner or later the ceasefire just ends. I mean, it might last a few days, or can you tell me a more positive picture of this that could emerge?
Well, look, the Israeli War Cabinet, according to reports, has, tentatively pre-authorised a 10-day pause, but that could end at any given moment. I mean, the Prime Minister of Israel, the Defence Minister of Israel, the opposition leader, the Chief of Staff of the Defence Force have all said, we are ready to start fighting again. And all their troops have been resupplied and re-equipped and are poised right now on the battle lines where they were 5 days ago when this tactical pause began. And what the Israeli military and political leaders are saying is we're not going to stop. Their intention is still to destroy Hamas as a military and political force. That's a pretty big ask.
So how possible? Well, that's what I was about to ask. I mean, how hard is that? I mean, how possible is that?
I think it's almost an impossibility. And even if you could achieve it, by some miracle, a new Hamas would emerge tomorrow. And what we're seeing, for example, in the West Bank, which is another Palestinian territory, but it's under Israeli control, the Israelis have been rounding people up and scooping up suspects while they're also releasing them from jails. In fact, just today, the Israeli military announced that in Jenin, they killed one of the senior leaders of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group. So I'm telling you, mate, decimating these people is almost impossible. A new Hamas would arise in any event. And what we're seeing in the West Bank, where these prisoners are being released, people, Palestinians in the West Bank, which is ruled by the Fatah faction, coming out and supporting Hamas. So Hamas is winning the popularity war on the Arab street, no matter what's happening. So this military objective is almost whimsical.
Michael, before you go, it's hard not to ask you about the death of Henry Kissinger, the former US Secretary of State, someone who re-established a relationship with China, but also a controversial figure. What are your reflections on his life and what he achieved?
Look, you can agree with some of the things Henry Kissinger said and did and advised multiple presidents, or you can disagree with them. He was a great elder statesman, whichever way you look at it. You know, he came out of Eastern Europe and arrived in the United States and went on to have the most extraordinarily influential voice in the ear of multiple US presidents. So whether you're a fan or not, this is still a day that we must mark with the passing of a great statesman.